Welcome to the Executive Coaching Podcast, where Executive Coach Alicia Cowan will discuss leadership topics and coaching solutions to tackle the most difficult problems that keep you from leading your team to success.
Hey, executive leaders, all of my listeners, I have a big announcement, and I need your help in order to make this happen. We are coming up on episode number 100 of the Executive Coaching Podcast. It's actually going to air later this year in September. And I don't want to just celebrate that big milestone by talking to myself. I actually want to celebrate it with you, my listeners. And so here's what I'm looking for. If there's something that you've heard on this podcast, any episode at all, that has helped you, has changed how you lead, how you think, or how you operate as an executive leader in or outside of the workplace. I want to hear about it from you. Maybe it's a decision that you've made differently. Maybe it's a framework or a tool that you used that you brought to your team. Maybe it's a conversation that you finally had. If there is a result that happened because of something you picked up here on the podcast, big wins, small wins, all of it matters. Because what I really want to do with episode 100 is I don't want it to be me just looking back on the 100 episodes that I've had. I want it to be reflective of your experience. Your stories are what will help shape this episode. The things you've applied, the shifts you've made, the moments where something clicked. That's what I want to bring to other listeners, because I know if those tools help to resonate with you, there are really good chances that it is exactly what somebody else needs and what they need to hear right now. So some stories that I have heard just recently in the past few weeks. I recently just had a consult with a client that has been a listener since 2024, so going on 2 years. And she was in a place where she started listening to the podcast to use in her workplace and how she was interacting with people. She recently just reached out for a consult. She got a big promotion and now she's a client. I had a listener just this past couple weeks reach out to me from overseas, from the Middle East, and has been listening to this on his commute into work, which is fantastic. And again, chasing after that next level. Now we're using it to elevate executive presence. And there are tools that I've heard that you've used over the years. Clients interacting with their supervisors and bosses in a different way, the board a different way. I had someone negotiate a raise and tell me about it. So there's all these cool stories that I've heard. And what I'd love to curate is a picture of all of these episodes, tools, lessons, topics that have had the most real world impact, told through the people who actually lived it. Not this highlight reel of my favorite moments, but a reflection of what you, the listeners, found most valuable. So share your story with me. Tell me what you've heard, what you did with it, what changed in your career, your team, the way you lead. A few sentences is all it takes to get started. So to share it, easy. Just go to my website, which is always linked in the show notes, and click the section where it says you can contact me directly, and you can also email me. Really easy. My email is Alicia, ELISIA, at Alicia Cowan Coaching, ELISIAKEOWN coaching.com. And the website, same thing. It's aliciacowancoaching.com. So easy way to reach me. Would love to hear from you. Thanks always for listening, friends. Here's to upcoming 100. Hey there, leaders. It's Alicia Cowan. Welcome to episode number 97. We are going to talk about asking for help today. Now, if that already freaks you out, then you are just in the right place. We're going to talk about why asking for help does not ruin your executive presence. We're going to do some myth busting today, my friends. And why I'm talking about this is because, like a lot of these podcasts, it's inspired by talking to my clients and some recency that I've had in sessions and what's coming up. And a lot of us as working parents right now are in this season of back to school. Around the Cowan house, that is what's happening here. We got about a week and a half till school starts up. I've got 2 kids going into high school. Well, one that's already in high school, but going to be in her junior year, one that's going to be a freshman. They are driving themselves to school this year, which is a big momentous occasion. And there is a lot to do in order to get ready and to manage all the things that are encompassed in the back to school season. And I always talk about seasonality a lot in this podcast, actually, and how it really opens an opportunity for us to examine what is going on and what comes up for us. And so I am right there with you. Asking for help can be difficult. It can be hard. It can be scary. It can be uncomfy. And so I want to talk about that and why it's not seen as something that is a weakness or something that will ruin your executive presence that I've heard recently. And what I want to say is that I've had some client wins around this. And while I'll keep them anonymous, I do want to say some of the clients that I've worked with recently have said things like, these sessions help me feel different, right? The mechanics of doing my job, my day-to-day may not change, but the mindset and how I feel going into the day-to-day work, it feels better. I can feel like it's more approachable. It's not insurmountable work isn't feeling overwhelming. Some people say that these sessions feel like therapy for work. Now, asterisk, of course, I'm not a therapist. I am not trained that way. And coaching is not a replacement for therapy. So that is my byline. But to say that it helps in the sense of the mindset work and how you are approaching things because of how you're thinking about it. And so why now? Why are we talking about why it's okay to ask for help? Well, because right now there are too many executives that are operating from this belief that it's their job to have everything all figured out, and that it's not okay to need or ask for help. And that's not okay. It's not okay. So this episode, we are going to bust up that myth, and we're going to offer some new set of beliefs that are options that I want to offer to you to replace some of those beliefs. Because if you're like me, you don't have the ability to do it all alone. You need some support. You need some scaffolding. So let me tell you the story. So I have a great, amazing, fantastically talented client that wants to tap into her own network in order to make a connection to potentially explore a connection for a potential career jump. It was offered to her by someone very kind and generous to her. And it was offered up not at her request, but as an offer to help. And I'm paraphrasing her words, but she said something to the effect of like, I should be able to do this myself. I shouldn't need the help. And the feeling that was underneath of it was something like not wanting to feel like a burden. And so I want to reframe it and offer suggestions to tease this out and say that asking for help is not actually a weakness. It's not entitlement. It's not a threat to your executive presence as a leader. It actually might be one of the most generous things that you can do. Okay, what do I mean by that? Let's dig into this. So let's dig into the belief, like where this comes from. There is this before version of us. The before version looks like, as an executive, that the thought of, I should have it all figured out mindset. That can be super common in executives of all shapes, flavors, sizes, etc. But it'll show up. For some reason, sometimes it'll show up when you're new to a role or level, but oftentimes it's showing up in people that have already achieved a lot. They're strong, they're driven, they're independent, they're really successful. So all these things that are going right with where they're at, which is wonderful and fantastic. But a lot of times what people are assuming at the executive level is that what got me here, all those great skills, all those great successes, what got me here and some of the habits that I had will get me to the next level and beyond. And while some of those strengths that we have can totally be true and we want to hold on to them, not asking for help and not accepting help is something I want to offer. It may not be helpful anymore at this level. And I want to make the difference, the distinct difference. I'm not disparaging being independent, driven, strong, capable. Nothing wrong with that. But sometimes when you're climbing up through the ladder, climbing up through the career, sometimes we don't necessarily remember or recognize all the help we got. Of course, typically your career is not just you independently on your own, void of anyone else and being involved in it. And you have to notice that some of those things that you might have been thinking before don't necessarily need to serve you in getting to the next level. They may not be true for you anymore. They may not be helpful for you anymore. And so I want to offer re-examining and re-looking at these thoughts. I believe that there are some unrealistic self-expectations that we have of ourselves as executives. One thought that I think is very unrealistic is that the thought, I should know how to do everything at this level. I shouldn't make mistakes. I should not be failing or make a misstep. I should be successful and I should know how to do it all. I think it's so unrealistic and so dangerous for us to believe, yet a lot of us believe that. And the core fear that kind of lies underneath this and not wanting to ask for help is that core belief that I mentioned earlier of not wanting to be a burden or a bother to somebody else. And so this client example that I used of declining to use her network for a career jump or thinking she wanted to decline it because she thinks that she should be able to do it myself, it is relatable. Oh, how I can relate to this right now of like not wanting to ask for help in the season that I'm in. I can so relate. Because again, as an independent high achiever, we can see in the past in some of our instances where it has served us so well coming up in the world, in career, in life, we can see how this like strong drive to get you to where you want to be has helped. And yet sometimes going it alone may no longer serve you. And what the cost it can come at that belief of wanting to go it alone, thinking you need to have it all figured out and do it yourself, can result in us feeling and being more isolated from others and not connecting. It can result in slower growth because we're declining help and turning it down. It can result in burnout or overwhelm. And here's the sheer fact of it. Ironically, all of that actually results in less credibility, not more credibility, because we're going it alone. And so there's the irony of it all. So let's get into it of naming and busting up some of these myths. So here's the myth that I led with, is that asking for help ruins executive presence. But here's the truth. Let's bust that up. Executive presence is actually how you show up and lead. It's not about self-sufficiency in every single domain of your life. Hear me loud and clear. Not about being self-sufficient in every aspect and domain. It's just not even physically possible. And another thought that I want to myth bust is that some people think that asking for help comes off as entitled. Like, I don't want to be entitled and for others to think that I am entitled. Now, I want to distinguish the difference between asking for help from entitlement. Entitlement is the thought of you owe me and believing that you deserve special treatment without earning it by believing you are more important than somebody else. Not ever the instance I have ever experienced with any of my clients. And the distinct difference between that entitlement, a sense of entitlement, and asking for help is simply, it's a request of others. It's not a demand. It doesn't come from this place of entitlement. It comes from a place of actually respect, not superiority. See how different that feels. When you ask for help or accept help, it's accepting that, and it's requesting, knowing that the other person on the other side of that request has the ability to say no. And we can respect that. We're not demanding it from them. And that feels a lot different than feeling entitled. So let's try on some new beliefs. What can we do instead? What can this look like in the after model of new beliefs for us to think instead? So I want to offer this. I was talking to another executive friend of mine, and we were talking about the fact that many people in the world genuinely like helping other people. I'm one of them. I believe a lot of you are that listen to this podcast. You genuinely like helping people. It feels good. It feels really great to help other people. And by refusing somebody's help, it actually denies the other person the ability to feel good, for them to give you that generosity because they want to, because they like it. And so you have to think of it, through that lens, that letting people help you is another way that you can add value into the world. You are actually being generous by giving them the opportunity to help contribute. They like it. They love it in some instances. And I believe this ties back to reciprocity or if you've called it paying it forward, if you will. So whatever your philosophical frame is, maybe it's karma or maybe your spiritual beliefs and like how you add value and what you're called to do, paying it forward, etc. The principle holds up is that help circulates, right? When you give into the world, it gives back to you in whatever way, shape, or form that you believe that happens. But that principle of generosity and reciprocity, if you believe in that, absolutely can help you reframe these thoughts here. So I had another client story. I was talking about this option of helping and how other people feel good about it. And they were talking about the fact that at times, if offered help, they could also feel insulted. It could feel insulting if the other person didn't receive the help. So basically, like if somebody felt that they wanted to go it alone and they didn't want to accept the help because they didn't want to feel like a burden, and that the person giving the help could actually feel like, well, hey, was that not good enough? Was my offer not good enough to help you? And could almost feel not great on the other end. And so I want to turn that lens around for you. Declining help can unintentionally read as a rejection of somebody's generosity. So just consider that. Consider this reframe. As an executive, you are allowed to build an entire support system. I call it scaffolding. I'm borrowing this from Adam Grant. I've been reading this book, Hidden Potential. If you haven't read it, it's fantastic. But he talks about this concept of building scaffolding around you, to help support you, getting you to the next level, to tap into your next level of potential. So you are allowed to build scaffolding around you as an executive in every single area of your life: personal, professional, your health, your family. You don't have to figure it out alone, and doing so does not diminish your leadership. In fact, it increases it. So I'm going to offer, here's what this looks like in practice. Here's some concrete examples that could look like scaffolding or could be scaffolding for you. It could look like going out and securing a mentor, securing a sponsor for yourself, could be building your peer network. It could be coaches. It could be a therapist. It could be an assistant at work or a personal assistant. It could be support for your family. It could be an entire professional community that you built. Those are examples of what I mean by building your scaffolding. It can be your own personal board of directors, as I frequently call it in my client sessions, is who is on the board for you. And I want to offer you this prompt. As an executive, where are you in your life right now white knuckling something that you could actually ask for support with? And I want you to think about reframing a question to ask yourself to think about before you decline help, a reframing question is, am I protecting my independence, or am I protecting a fear of being seen is not enough? Boom. That's what I got for you, friends. So I want to close with a couple statements. Asking for help is not a liability to your executive presence. It will not erode how people see you as a leader. It's actually the opposite. It's a really strong signal that you are self-aware and that you trust others. It's you setting the example for others. If you white knuckle it and act as if you cannot accept help, you do not accept help, you cannot take any help, and that you can go it alone, you're also setting a signal out to others that this is how it needs to get done. So consider if that's the signal that you want to send. I want to invite you to notice just one place in your week where you might be able to accept or ask for some help. And as always, I would love to hear from you. Where is this working for you? Maybe where you have been resistant to asking or accepting help, and maybe where you have opened to it. Don't hesitate to reach out. And as always, friends, if you want to do this work with me, you need some help. If you need some help with executive presence, leading your team, anything within the workplace that just feels out of reach and a big goal that you don't want to tackle alone, reach out to me. You can go to my website, aliciacowancoaching.com. It's always in the show notes. It's spelled ELISIAKEOWN, coaching.com. And always, friends, I am so glad to help you. And remember, not a burden to ask for help. Go get them this week. I will talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye. All right, my executive friends, that is a wrap on today's episode. But before you go, I want to come back to something I mentioned at the top of the episode because it genuinely matters to me. Episode 100 is coming, and I'm so excited about it. I want to build this episode around you, your stories, your wins, the moments where something from this podcast actually showed up in your workplace, in a meeting, in a hard conversation, a decision, a result, you leading with more executive presence. If that is you, if there is a single moment in an episode, maybe a tool, a framework, or even just this small single idea that stuck with you and changed something, I want to hear about it. It doesn't have to be polished. It doesn't have to be some big dramatic transformation. I just want it to be real. And so the link to share your stories, always in the show notes. You can just go to my website, Alicia Cowan Coaching, and I'll take it from there. Should be quick, take you less than 5 minutes. And I would love if you would let me share it on the podcast, and it might help somebody else out there that needs to hear it right now. So thanks for being here, episode after episode. And 100 of these episodes don't happen without you actually showing up and listening. And I do not take that lightly. I'll see you on the next one, friends. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Executive Coaching Podcast with Alicia Cowan. If you're ready to have an executive coach who's ready to help you lead your team to success, then book an introductory call at aliciacowancoaching.com/call.